Linda Grimes, and I'm very privileged to introduce this very special ArmChair ArtWalk Tour. We started this Zoom meetings in the pandemic, and when we came back from the pandemic, we didn't need to do it anymore. But we're really privileged to be hosting Cornerstone Theater, and there are two new artistic directors, Charlotte and Sunder, and I will let them introduce themselves, and then I'm going to turn the meeting over to Bruce. So Charlotte, why don't you go first?
Hi, everybody. It's lovely to be here with you. My name is Charlotte Brathwaite, and I am very happy to be a new ensemble member at Cornerstone and one of two artistic directors that are here. I'm a director, a collaborator, a filmmaker, a performer, and I'm very happy that my life has been spent moving from project to project, building communities around these projects, and so it's really great to be here at Cornerstone, continuing that process. Sunder, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I might just read my bio. Thanks, Linda.
A lot to read.
My name is Sunder. Ditto everything Charlotte said. Excited to be at Cornerstone. There's a lot of text to the left of my face that you're welcome to take a gander at whenever you like. But I'd much rather hear about San Pedro and Pedro play. And so yeah, I'm excited to be here. It's lovely to see all of you
In the chat too.
Yeah. So yeah, Bruce.
I'll take it away. Folks, welcome to this edition of the ArmChair ArtWalk. What you've actually walked into is a bit of a reunion with some of the creative team and cast of Pedro Play and some of the people from Cornerstone Theater Company who make it happen, and the people in and from San Pedro who we got to meet and bond with and build a family with as we made a play all about San Pedro and performed it in the Waner Grand. As Linda said, we have two new artistic directors that have just come into Cornerstone, and we want to introduce you to we want to introduce everybody to everybody, so we can all talk about the stuff that we do, the experience we've had, and keep doing it. So that's the long and short of it. Linda, if you want to,
I just wanted to jump in and let the participants know that if they have questions, put them in the chat, and we'll get to them at the end of the conversation.
Yes. So to kick it off, just give folks a little background on how Cornerstone made our way to San Pedro, and spent our time getting to know the neighborhood as we built the show. We actually made our way to Pedro following the Harbor Gateway after a project that we did in Watts, where I'm from, and the Jordan Downs housing community, and that connected us to what was going on at Rancho San Pedro. So we made our way down to Rancho San Pedro and began to getting to know all of San Pedro through driving tours, coming to the art walks every first Thursdays, coming to different meetings, getting to know people, building relationships. That's where we got to meet Angela Romero for the first time, and I got to attend some of her virtual events, and also got to sit down and have a conversation and learn about her incredible story and love for San Pedro, and as we got to know more and more about all the places and the people that make this community what it is, we were lucky enough to spend so much time during a very difficult time during the pandemic. We were able to still spend our time getting to know San Pedro, which resulted in a short play that we got to do a reading of at Rancho San Pedro in the lawn. El Amor's Football, Soccer is Love, which cemented some really wonderful relationships and really set Rancho San Pedro as a base. Fast forward, we did all of our rehearsals for Pedro play at Rancho San Pedro. So a lot of people who maybe had never been there before got to spend some really long hours in the community space there, and our hope was to bring different parts of San Pedro together, along with different parts of Cornerstone together, and tell a story. And that is what we did. Um, it it and the process was a lot of listening, a lot of solo conversations, a lot of individual conversations. We got to meet a lot of really, really, really wonderful people before we even got into the nitty gritty of Juliet taking all of this experiences and all the different conversations that she also had to make a musical, which I don't think we even saw it coming until the day we had the script in hand, well, script on screen, and got to read it as a company together before bringing it to the community and sharing it again in some community readings and a reading that we did along with Linda and the Waterfront Arts District as part of Culture Talks at the aquarium. We got to do another stage reading of this new play of Pedro play at the aquarium, which deepened our relationship with Pedro a little more and introduced this wild idea of the work Cornerstone does to more of the people that we were hoping to bring into the process. And then I mean, the process, of course, involved a lot of different people who have shared their experiences and their loves of San Pedro with so much honesty and love that we were really fortunate to take that and transmute all that into Pedro play. There were a couple of moving targets, like the Waner Grand, for instance, has been on the list for construction. And every time we met to talk about it, it was probably going into under construction. But we were able to get in there right before it got shut, right before the doors got closed, which was fantastic. And we got to do something that many of us haven't done before.
Bring Juliet into the conversation.
That's what I was actually going to do now. I'm going to see if I can pass it over to Juliet. If you want to talk about your process.
Sorry, one of the things that you captured so beautifully is this moment of change that we're in. I don't mean to step on you, Bruce, but
Please.
This moment of change that we're in San Pedro. This is the largest amount of successful development we've ever experienced in like 30 or 40 years. And so a lot of people were, and when you captured it in this play, were ambivalent about Ports of Call going away and West Harbor rising. So would you talk a little bit about how you came around to that, capturing that in the play?
Sure. I think I need to go back though and talk a little bit about Angela.
Oh, please do.
So there's a scene in the play that takes place in the Waner Grand where the ghosts appear. And I'm no joke, during tech, I felt the ghosts going up my spine, and I'm pretty sure it was Angela. So when I came onto the project, I was desperately trying to reach her. She was contracted to be part of our team, and she wasn't answering in my emails. And this was during COVID, so it was very difficult to reach people and interview people live. But I happened across this article about her that she had passed. And so I reached out to Bruce, and I reached out to Megan, and I let them know, and nobody knew that she had passed. So a lot of this journey for me has been trying to get to what Angela's vision was, which was really, she was a historian, and she was just kind of a San Pedro keeper of all things important. And so I ended up tracing her footsteps as much as I could, and bringing her into the play as much as I could without actually having it be her as the main character. And, you know, when I was rereading the play, this play is so different from anything I've ever written. And I've never written a musical. And actually the first draft I kind of just sat down and did it in a weekend. And it just kind of came pouring out of me. And her best friend came to see the show. Megan, what's Megan's last name? Anyway, she came to see the show and she said to me, "This feels like Angela." So, so she would have loved the show. She loved musicals. And so that kind of all makes sense to me, because I felt like she wanted to write this play. She had written a play before. She didn't identify as a playwright, but she had written a couple of little plays before. She had been in a playwriting class. And so I think this is her play. I don't think it's my play. I think it's her play. And so yeah, that kind of was my journey with this play. And so to get back to your question, that was a big concern of hers, was West Harbor coming in and how it would affect her community. And in fact, keep San Pedro cozy was something that she said. And so it was a theme throughout all the interviews that I did in San Pedro. People were concerned. I mean, I asked Tim Oscar, who's now the city councilman member of that area.
Yeah.
And at the time he was running for city council, and I said, "What should this play be about?" And he said, "It should be about this moment of gentrification." So that was a theme that kind of came up again and again and again, and it certainly was a huge concern of Angela's. So that's how it became central. Yeah.
And that, to me, that was a big surprise when I saw it. I saw it a couple times, that I really did feel her presence in the theater. And the theater does have ghosts, you're right. And I was so touched by that she was there with us. It's hard to talk about without crying. And yeah, she really tried to preserve our history and started a nonprofit called the San Pedro Heritage Museum, which you met Josh Stecker, the publisher of San Pedro Today magazine. And he's taken up the
Yes.
mantle and he's continuing that.
It's Megan Barnes. Megan Barnes
Right.
is and Josh were Angela's best friend. So yeah. Sorry to interrupt, but yes.
No, go right ahead.
No, they were the ones that came up to me afterwards and said this was Angela's play. This is Angela's musical. Yeah.
Actually, Josh stepped in to work with us alongside as Angela was going to be our humanities advisor on the play, and work in like kind of like a bit of like a dramaturgical sense. So we went to Megan and then Josh to come in and check the work. You know?
Mm-hmm. Consult.
Yeah.
So where in the process did you add the music?
After we got the first draft done, I think I gave it to David Nihal, right? It's about a year before we went into production, or maybe less, maybe 9 months.
Yeah, and we sat around the living room with Shishir and read all the characters and just tried to pretend we were each person and what would they sound like if they sang, and what would they do if they were together and they were dancing or something. And yeah, that's where it all started, really. Just trying to find a voice for each of the main characters of the play. It's a love story, isn't it? And all the other things that go around it, that the feelings we have to feel for those characters have to be ones of empathy, and we have to relate to them. And that's what drove the beginning of getting our first ideas. Some of those got thrown out, of course. Yeah.
Have you worked with Cornerstone before on other productions?
The first play I did with Cornerstone was 30 years ago. Yeah, so yes, that's definitely the case. And they've all been wonderful experiences. This was great because, the first time we went to San Pedro, we go there often. We live in West Side Long Beach. but we just realized it was 10 minutes away, and yet everything we had thought we knew about San Pedro was completely on its ear within, you know, hanging out with everyone for a few hours. You know, we just have a completely new feeling for the community and what it is, and that's the beauty of being involved in a project like this. Standing on the stage of the Waner Grand while it was still kind of musty smelling and there wasn't any props out or anything like that, and just going, wow, this place is a place with some history, and I thought I knew this, but now I know a whole lot more. And all the inside jokes that got the audience laughing, and just everything that went along with learning about San Pedro for being part of this.
Yeah. Juliet made it very easy for us also, because she wrote the lyrics, and it just makes the writing process more directed.
Or maybe Angela did.
What's that?
I think Angela did. But go
Oh,
ahead.
maybe Angela wrote it, but I think that we only changed the lyrics for one song just because we wanted it to be longer. But yeah, having Juliet's writing was very helpful in like just getting the feel for how the music should go.
And how many musicians did you have on stage?
Well, they all had a San Pedro story. Suzanne Patton was music director, and then Ryan and John, and then the two of us.
And our
And
cellist,
Morgan, of course, Morgan,
yeah.
who really inspired us. I kept on saying, who's showing up to auditions? Do we have anybody who plays the tuba, or anybody who can add a little bit of extra character to this group? And Morgan was the one who showed up with her cello and really added a big voice.
So I think with everyone, that's 6.
So it was percussion?
Yeah, so we had a drummer, and then I played percussion, and then we had a bass player, and David played guitar, and we had a piano player and a cellist. And then I sang some background vocals as well. Yeah, it was a nice big, like, rounded out sound. We had a few rehearsals with everyone. We actually changed the feel for one of the songs on stage during one of the rehearsals before the first show. We were like, what if we put like what if we change this beat to kind of like this? And the drummer was like, I got that. Yeah, I could do that. And like, what if we put a little reggae right here? And he's just like, yeah. So it was very much collaborative.
Yeah, building right up until the last minute.
Sorry, Bruce. I think that's the beauty of theater. It is a collaboration, and it becomes like an instant family.
Yeah, this is actually, David has been working with Cornerstone for over 30 years, but you know, on and off, but I have never done anything with theater. So for me, this was very, very cool to see all of this unfold, and like the camaraderie that the cast feels. And we're all like crying on the opening night before, you know, that pep talk before the show. We're all just like, oh my God, you guys are so special. I'm like, I know, we're so cool. This is so nice.
Sweet. So Bruce, what was your role in the production?
My role in the production was a director, and I was fortunate to get to lead the engagement process throughout. So I spent a lot of time basically eating my way through San Pedro, for the most part. I'm saying eating my way through San Pedro. Yeah, big foodie town, I don't know how to really define that role in this context. I mean, we're all collaborating in the room, and we're all being creative and vulnerable, and trying to bring different parts of ourselves out throughout the process. So I'm just trying to support the wonderful people in this room who lended their story and their voice and their bodies and their time, tremendous volumes of their time to this process to come tell a story with us. And I would love to hear from the cast, and to talk about your experience, and to hear about what has stuck with you, and bits of that. And I'm going to make sure Charlotte and Sunder want to throw it to you as well if you want to pose a question to the folks in the room, or just steer us wherever you think we should go.
I'd just love to hear from the cast, the San Pedro cast, about, you know, now that the experience is over, without thinking too deeply, like what's the first thing that you think about when you think about the process, the experience? What kind of things have transpired since the production? Maybe how your relationship to your home might have changed or not changed, or just I'm just curious to hear what you're thinking about. And I'm looking at you, Brian.
That's a good question, Sunder. So, man, Pedro play, that was I owe a lot to Cornerstone. They definitely opened my eyes to a whole new world. I mean, to a whole new part of me that I didn't know existed, and that's why I owe a lot, because I mean, to the community, there's a lot of people in the community who are unknowingly artists. Me, I'm a numbers guy. I'm in the industrial gas business. I'm pursuing a mechanical engineering degree, and if for some reason Bruce thought it was a good idea for me to stand up and sing, you know what I mean. So it definitely opened up my eyes. And since then, I mean, I keep in good contact with mostly everybody here. I've made some good relationships. I'm pursuing acting as a hobby now. I got a feature filming at the end of the year. So I can't thank Cornerstone enough for this joy, this new path that it has led me on. But yeah, I can't say it enough. It opened my eyes. It opened my eyes. I never thought I can stand up and audition to something before, let alone sing and act in front of a lot of people. So I just thanks Cornerstone, thanks Bruce for giving me an opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you.
Brian, would you say you lost your way?
Yeah, but I always find it. There's only one way in and one way out of Pedro. So.
I'm curious if anybody else wants to answer, maybe Ricky or Rudy, excuse me, go ahead. Yeah.
No worries. Hey everyone, Rudy here. Yeah, for me, it was so needed last year to be a part of this experience. 2023 was one of the hardest years of my life, and I had done theater long ago. The last play I was in 2014, and I thought I would never do it again, that I'd put that aside. And when I returned, it was just the right timing, and it reminded me, it awakened something that I thought was long gone. And I was reminded about how much I love doing this, how much I love being on stage, but also being a part of a community. I've been missing that for so long, and that's what Cornerstone gave me. Is I loved going to rehearsal every day, even though the longer all day Saturday rehearsals. I just loved being around these people, and so that's always going to be the highlight of my year last year, and just like something I'll always remember fondly.
So glad to have you, Rudy.
So Lisa,
So
this was your first
yeah,
production?
Lisa, I was just gonna say, went on to Christmas Carol. What relationship did you have to theater making before Pedro play?
I had no experience in theater. It's something I wanted to do as a young child and was discouraged. And swore that when I became an old, wise, experienced woman of the world, I would go back and try it. And this was just the perfect opportunity. No experience needed. That's me. And similar to Brian, I didn't think I could even audition, and much less perform in front of all these people. And I had a ball. It injected this new passion for life in me. And I'm eternally grateful. And it kind of reminds me of like your memories of summer camp as a kid, you know. You form these bonds that I'll never forget this family. And then I just want to give kudos to Cornerstone because the subject matter was sensitive subject matter. And you approached it so delicately and so respectfully that I didn't hear a single negative comment. Everyone embraced it. And that's unusual in this town. So between Juliet's writing, which it amazes me that you just said you'd never done a musical before this. It was so well done that it became so well received that everybody is asking for an opportunity to see. And I know that's challenging, but again, thank you for taking a chance on San Pedro.
And thank you, Lisa, for your contributions to the script. I mean, that was one of the things that I always appreciate about Cornerstone's work is that we rely so much on the community to get it right. And you were really vocal about the things that you felt weren't working in the script. And I just so appreciated that, you know, the getting to authenticity and honoring the town in the way that should be honored, you know, so yeah.
Oh, that just sparks my curiosity into what didn't make it in and what was the process of getting it out. I'm always curious about that because, you know, we're all talking about collaboration and it is great, but there's always these moments. I'm curious. Does anyone want to share something that didn't make it in and maybe why y'all felt that it didn't represent the community and needed to be out? Anybody?
Go for it, Lisa. Lisa, go for it.
And then Rudy's up
that's the
next.
director's cut. You got to pay more for that. It was just there was some terminology that that Cornerstone had received that I had never heard used before. And so I had to question, like, it was it was terminology about the town that was a little bit, you know, self-deprecating, which we can do, but it was a term that I had never heard before. And so
Specifically, ghetto by the sea.
no, it wasn't ghetto by the sea. It was
Well, that was a phrase I asked to be taken out.
but I was more familiar with ghetto by the sea. It was something else.
Ask of LA.
The
That's of
ass.
LA.
The ass end of LA. I had never heard that term before.
We changed it to the edge of LA.
Yes, which I've heard a lot. So just
But
little
but it
things
still made the ass of LA made it in there once. It
in
was
one of the
it was in
songs,
there.
right?
I mean, I had heard it actually. It was a Zoom call that had been recorded during COVID. And so I wasn't actually in the Zoom call, but I saw the Zoom call and it was with I can't even remember. It was just a group of community members that were talking to Bruce. And at this moment, I can't remember who they were, but they described San Pedro as the ass of LA. And I thought that was hilarious because of the shape of San Pedro. So it kept kind of popping up in the script. And both Linda, you brought it up to me too. Linda and Lisa, and maybe even somebody else were like, never heard that. But I kept in one reference.
You did. And that was okay.
Rudy, you had something you wanted to share.
Yeah, I was supposed to have the last line in the show, and normally I'm all for that. Give me more lines to do. But I think it was about like me deciding on what to call the land of Wilmington, and I I definitely like prefer the way we ended with the the kiss and the top and the two lead characters, and you go into the cozy song. So I like the way that goes, and it's that was like the one time where I was okay with having one of my lines cut.
Yeah, I protested that one too.
We haven't heard from
Yeah, it
Bonnie.
was a full circle idea. You know, he was from Wilmington, Pennsylvania, and landed in Wilmington.
Delaware.
Sorry, Delaware. Yeah, yeah. And I just like this idea of full circle, but nobody else liked it. So
Well, just to let Charlotte and Sunder know the references, the Wilmington, the town here in the harbor, and San Pedro have clashed forever, and there's been gang turf war. So to end a Pedro play saying Wilmington just didn't sit right, unfortunately.
Ricky, you've been quiet. Do you have anything to share in terms of, I don't know, celebrations, challenges?
Yeah, I would have to say for me, so I'm a recent transplant from Orange County, Placentia, California, to San Pedro back in March of 2023. And I incorporated myself in the community by doing some painting. And I went to the First Thursday Art Walk. And a part of that, I forgot the name, Pixels. It was Pixels Art Gallery. And Bruce was there announcing that, rehearsals are coming up or auditions are coming up. And that's how I found out about San Pedro Play. And from that moment to all of September, all of October, all the hard work that we put in, my biggest takeaway was back in the day, I was in sixth grade, I did a play, but since then, this was the first opportunity. And I wrote down some words that the community aspect, I think, was a big part of this play. And for me, being incorporated in the community, understanding the history of the community, helped me, I guess, again, incorporate in the community. And I feel a little bit more comfortable being in San Pedro. And I think just being able to share this experience and actually like have my neighbors come, give the postings to various different businesses. A lot of the people recommended next time, let the unions know, the local unions, about this play if you ever do it again, because there were some of my neighbors who were crying and crying and crying just because there are so many references to things I had no idea about. And it brought them back to a childhood memory, for example. So for me, I think going back to the being incorporated within the community, and all in all, I would say it was a lot of fun. It was just way too much fun. Our Tuesdays through Fridays, or I forget the schedule, Monday through Fridays, and the Saturdays, we had a lot of fun. Just the icebreakers we had in the beginning, to just sharing everyone's experiences day in and day out, and how everyone's doing. The check-ins we had. So yeah, thanks for the opportunity again. I like to echo what everyone's saying and what Brian was saying. Cornerstone, Bruce, everyone, the jam sessions we had and the singing. It was way too much fun. So yeah. So again, thanks, and hopefully, I mean, if this ever does happen again or something comes up, absolutely. I'm sure everyone on the call and others will sign up immediately. Thank you.
We haven't brought Bonnie into the conversation. You're on mute. There you go.
Thank you. Hi. Well, I'm a Cornerstone Ensemble member, so I did not know that much about San Pedro going in. We had done El Amore's football the previous year, so we kind of been in the area, in the community, and it was a lot of fun. It's It's a very interesting little town, and I played a historical character. So that was a hoot, playing a woman, a white woman in the 1870s, um, with the bustle and corset and all of that goes with that. And so, and singing. I mean, I haven't done a lot of musicals. I usually run away from musicals, but we did this and I sang. And that was a stretch for me, singing and dancing again. I hadn't danced in forever in a show, really. So it was a great opportunity and a lot of really wonderful people and ramen.
And ramen.
The ramen place. Yeah, I love the ramen place.
That's rather new to San Pedro.
Is it?
Yeah,
It's
relatively.
good.
It is.
Hmm.
I'm curious from the San Pedro folks if there's anything you learned about your community that you didn't know before. Did that shift your perspective about your community today, or change any wants that you see you would like to see in your community?
For me, I mean, I lived in San Pedro pretty much my entire life, so 35 out of 36 years. So I've seen a lot come and go. Um, Actually, one of this, and I'd love to hear Brian's thoughts on this. I knew of Shanghai Reds, but very little. So it was nice to see that come alive. I'm sure it was much grimier in real life back then. We had kind of had to clean it up a little bit, but it was interesting to see that, and it's just it was interesting to see a recurring theme throughout history of San Pedro about how we we want it to be a better place to live and all these things, but we also fear change, and we can never agree on things. But that was alluded to earlier. We can complain about anything, and so you can imagine when West Harbor was announced, there was all of this mixed feelings and good and bad and indifferent, and we can't fight it though. It's going to happen. It's already here. I can see it outside my window, and so um, and one of the things that I learned from this show is that just embrace the change, because change is inevitable. Be a part of the change. Make sure that things, like decisions, are not being made without your say, but just know that this is the way it's always going to be going forth. Things will change, and you have to be able to roll with the tide. And so that was very interesting to really come to terms with, because I can be very anti-change at times, because like I love San Pedro so much that I don't want it to change, but I also want the best for it. And so it really like wakened all these mixed feelings in me. But overall, I'm optimistic for where things are headed.
And I think that was one of the things that Juliet captured so beautifully, is that, there are a number of people here that don't want to see San Pedro change just like you, but we're in the midst of a huge wave of development. There's somewhere in the neighborhood of 4,500 to 5,000 new housing units either in process or already built. So that's somewhere in the neighborhood of más o menos 10,000 or more new residents that we haven't met yet. And so, and then there's more development going on up the hill on Western. So yeah, our little town is really changing. And then with the rise of All to Sea and West Harbor, it's not the same town it was 25 years ago. And I think the play, Juliet, really helped the people that came to it, really helped them put a pin in it and really understand that, change is inevitable, and how you adjust to it and how you meet it is key to your, being accepted of the change that is happening.
And I would add, having the piece where change is inevitable and we want what's best for our town, and let's do what we can to preserve the pieces of the
Keep it
past.
cozy. Keep it cozy.
Well, and the whole historical thing, like, you know, you can approve of development and still keep the Waner Grand Theater going and keep some of these historical pieces a part of that development. Yeah.
Bruce, did you have any thoughts?
Um,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. What
no,
did you
just San Pedro, you know, just through our time there, just to find out just how crucially important San Pedro is, to not just like California, to like all of the country, like so many stories trace their way all the way to San Pedro, and like I wouldn't have been aware of it beforehand if we didn't get to spend this time. Uh, and I'm deeply grateful for it. I'm actually definitely gonna get food in Pedro sometime soon because some of my favorite spots are down there. I need a busy bee sandwich, you know. I need that bread, need that in my life. But yeah, I guess I wonder if Pedro will keep me. um, uh, and also wondered if we had any questions from folks in the room, uh, that they wanted to drop in the chat, or they had after watching the show they didn't get to ask, or questions you want to ask the cast and creators in the room. This is the folks that weren't on the team, but you are now. If you have any questions.
Oh, we're getting crickets.
I would like to say that I feel like since we live close and everything, we would visit San Pedro a lot for, you know, like catching a restaurant or taking a hike because Long Beach is super flat and there's nowhere to really exercise. The way we used to visit it, it felt a lot more like from an outsider perspective. I'm not really sure where anything is. Is this place cool? And now I have like a much like a more familial, intimate knowledge of it. I won't say like I know everything like a local would, but it's like, you know, how you go to a town and you know somebody who lives there. That's how it feels. Like it feels really like different to me. And when I like drive past certain streets now, I'm like, that's the one from the play. That's what they were talking about. Or just like where we were to rehearse, or just like near the Waner Grand. Even it was just now it feels different. I like it a lot.
And I think the town feels different too. I mean, for so long, this San Pedro had a really negative reputation. You know, 25 years ago when I started managing the Golden State Pops Orchestra, people were like, they didn't want to come here because they thought it was dangerous. And there's a lot of people that have really worked hard not only to clean up the town, but make it feel safer, make sure that there's art on the streets. So it really has gone through a lot of changes.
A
The other
question for
thing,
the cat. Oh, sorry.
the other thing is, I told all my coworkers and friends that we were doing this. It was a big deal for us, you know. And out of the woodwork, I found out like so many of the people I know either grew up there or had strong ties there. Somebody I know like did ballet there for like 15 years and like went to high school there, and like he's our facilities manager at work. You know, like it's just really random the connections we forged through it. And then like the other thing is after Brian said, you know, he didn't act before, I think, and like now he's into it. Well, he pulled me into a side project, and I don't really act, I'm a musician. And so we did a student project for somebody, and I got to play Olivia Pope. And I was like, cool. So this is like just such a special experience, like on a personal level, but also like it felt like it meant something. I've heard of Cornerstone from the outside, but now I really understand what the organization does. And it's just really, really cool to me to see how it pulls in people don't have to act, like you don't have to know how to do, just be part of it, you know? So, and it shines a spotlight on something that maybe people didn't know about, current issue, or maybe not a current issue. In this case, it was. So I thought that was really nice.
Sweet. We did have a question in the chat. Lou wanted to know, what was your favorite line from the show?
I can kick this one off. My favorite was, and this one I think brought me tears. And I'm looking it up in the script because sometimes I go back to the script. I just lost it. Here it is. In order, it's from Walter. Everybody knows if you want to move into the future, you got to make peace with the past. So that resonated with me, just on a local level, personal level. I mean, I think that's just like a truth in and of itself, and just the scene and the setting, and the play. Yeah, that was really beautiful and emotional. That would probably be my favorite. There are a lot of others, but that would probably be my favorite one.
And then Michael asked a question. Thank you, Ricky. Does anybody else have a favorite line?
I think that was my. I think me and Ricky were kind of debating on what was the best line of out of the play. I agreed on that one too. From we call him Uncle Boaz. He played Walter, but yeah, that's probably the best line, I think.
Mine was Bonnie saying, "Daddy," and then Banning saying, "Oh no."
She was quite a storied woman. I mean, she was pretty frisky in her life, would you say?
Yeah, she married 4 times in the 1870s, 80s, 90s, you know, so that was special.
Do you think that was kind of her white privilege, where, you know, she was a rich girl and that's what
Yes,
she did? Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. She could do whatever she wanted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and she knew it.
Hmm.
And she had Phineas wrapped around her little finger.
Yeah, I will say it was interesting having a father-daughter relationship with Bonnie, who's, in case those don't know, is older than me. So, and we had never met before, obviously, and so it was actually a lovely treat for me to get to know Bonnie so well and play off each other, because I really didn't know what to expect. Like, Lisa was the only person I knew before this show, and so to make all these new friends was awesome. But just that the connection that I have with Bonnie and on stage and behind the scenes as well has just been really special, because it's just, it doesn't make sense for her to be my
Aw,
daughter and for me to be Banning, but it's just so fun on stage, and we made it work.
You guys totally sold it.
Yes,
thank you,
thank you.
Rudy. Thanks,
This is where we
Lisa.
can make it happen, you know?
Yeah, my wife is just like, like, after the show, I'm like, hey, so how was it? It was good, but the Bonnie, I think they should have put more on her on stage. It was just awesome. It was awesome. Yeah, it was. They were just her outfits, her
Hey,
singing. Yeah, they came through all the shows just to watch you, Bonnie.
aw. Well, her father actually died when she was like 9 or something. He didn't really live to see her go through all those marriages. But, you
Artistic
know,
license.
yes, that's the
Yeah.
magic of theater. Yeah.
But yeah, when I came across that character, I just couldn't resist. I had to put it in.
Well, we're almost out of time. Does anybody have any other questions? Michael was asking, how did it feel immediately after the play was over?
Depressing.
I said,
No, it was definitely like I think Lisa said, it was like summer camp's over and you got to go back to reality, kind of, you know. Oh man, I got to go to school now and do my regular stuff. But yeah, it definitely missed it a lot. Especially, you know, you're with them. It's like a second family. You're with them a lot of hours out of the day, and you know, in group chats and everything. So it was a little sad. But I think overall, at least for me, it was I was grateful for the opportunity.
Now we got you. Welcome to the circus.
And we do have plans to try and we have a small NEA grant to add augmented reality elements to the mural that's in the Lillian Furman walkway by the theater. And I've hired a teaching artist, and I'm just trying to get together with Michael, other Michael, and Megan and Bruce, and figure out with him how we're going to do that. So we'll have guided tours that will go visit that, and then we're also working on the other mural that we did on the side of the Lammy building. So some of the material will live on virtually.
Yeah, and just want to say the body of people on this call is just a very small sliver of the body of people who it took to create this piece, to put it up every night, and to give us reason to do it. You know, it's like all those people are a huge part of this, and some of them you might not see, but they're a huge part. Like there's one that you don't see on screen right here. Michael Garcia at Cornerstone really push the thing up the hill, you know. But like one of the many people that you may not have seen that really made this happen and continues to make this work happen. So thank you all for being coming together and making this happen and choosing to do it again, maybe, you know.
Yeah, I'd love for everyone to think about what they want the second San Pedro play to be about, and pass those ideas to Juliet, and let's get the sequel. The sequel's got time to come.
Banning's Revenge.
No pressure on Megan to raise the money to do it.
I love it. I love it.
Oh, Bruce, did you have anything else to ask? Did anybody else have anything else to say or ask?
Mm.
I'm putting you on the spot all night. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I have a question.
Please.
Would anyone like to know what Cornerstone is working on now? Or
Good
what
question.
community you're going into next? I don't know if that's for
We're in the
Charlotte.
lab at the moment. I'm not sure if you want to say that yet.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, we're the next thing. Our next inquiry is rooted in Frederick Douglass, voter suppression, democratic practice, and we're going to be bringing together a community around an inquiry. So sometimes Cornerstone does, like with San Pedro, communities that are oriented around a particular geographic location. The next project will be around people who are situated in some sort of precarious way in some vicinity to the voting access. So we're making something about voter suppression rooted in the primary source materials and experience of Frederick Douglass.
And where will that be performed, or you don't know that yet?
We don't know yet. We're just starting. Yeah.
Very good and timely topic.
I think Peter had a question.
Yeah, I'll read it out loud. Folks, did you learn anything from the teenage cast members about their experiences growing up in San Pedro today?
Restored my faith in youth.
I was so impressed and blown away by their commitment. On top of being like straight A students involved in drama at school and a million other things and all their family responsibilities, I was blown away.
Yeah, they were very, very mature, and I was kind of learning from them too. It's I mean, when it was time to work, they put in the work. They put in the work, and I was like, well, I gotta get up to their level. You know, when I was a teenager, I don't know, Pokemon cards, maybe. I'm not really sure, but I was very impressed by them.
Yeah, I'll never forget the moment where we were trying to figure out where we had this one moment where we met someone, Julie. I remember at auditions that we wanted to be to have like a breakdown dance scene in this and they didn't make it to the show, but we were talking about it in the room, and they revealed to us that they knew how to tap and had tap dancing shoes, and it was like a moment of all of us going, what? What? Well, that's happening. That's happening now. That's definitely happening now. But they just came with so much energy, and spirit of play.
Well, I think it's time to say goodnight, and stay tuned for more activity from Cornerstone here in Pedro and on the future work. Bruce, did you have anything in closing to say?
Thank you all. Thank you all so much for inviting us in to your living room tonight and into your lives with Pedro Play.
Sunder and Charlotte, any last words?
Grateful to be part of the
Just gratitude.
conversation. Yeah,
Thank
gratitude. Thank y'all.
To meet you in person someday. Thank you for being here.
See you soon. Definitely.
See ya.